Strategy number 1. Flexibility and adaptability. Imagine rolling into battle with swords and spears, only to be met by a hail of cannonballs and musket fire. That's exactly what the Ottomans did. They weren't afraid to mix and match their tactics, borrowing the best from everyone they encountered, like cultural ninjas picking up cool moves every now and then. Their secret weapon and military strategies that were so badass, they carved out an empire that lasted for over 600 years, the Ottoman Empire, one of the mightiest empires in history. Smash that like button if you learned something new today, and subscribe for more epic history adventures. And in the comments below, tell me which Ottoman military strategy you found the most mind-blowing. Byzantines taught them how to build mighty city walls and use clever siege engines. Nomadic Turks showed them the power of swift cavalry charges and hit-and-run tactics. And when gunpowder rolled onto the scene, the Ottomans were the first to adopt it, crafting cannons that could crumble castles like sandcastles in a hurricane. They weren't stuck in their ways, unlike some empires who stuck to outdated tactics until they met a sticky end. The Ottomans were like chameleons, constantly blending in and adapting to whatever the battlefield threw at them. His military, these elite soldiers, were trained in both traditional swordsmanship and modern firearms, making them as comfortable charging a fortress as picking off enemies from afar. And it wasn't just weapons they borrowed. They absorbed different fighting styles, creating unique formations like the crescent, where infantry formed the center with cavalry on the flanks, ready to envelop and crush their opponents. Think of it like a medieval Pac-Man gobbling up its enemies. This flexibility kept their foes on their toes. Imagine facing an army that could switch from ancient war cries to thunderous cannon fire in the blink of an eye. No wonder the Ottomans carved out an empire that stretched from the Arabian Peninsula to the gates of Vienna. They were the ultimate tactical chameleons, constantly evolving and adapting to conquer. Strategy number 2. Logistics champs. The Ottomans revolutionized military supply chains, turning war into a well-oiled pizza delivery service. They called it the Kapı Kulu, and it was seriously impressive. A vast network of warehouses, storehouses, and relay stations scattered across the empire. Food, weapons, and armor flowed like lava through this system, constantly replenishing the hungry, thirsty, and rusty troops on the go. They even had specialized bread ovens on wheels rolling right behind the army, piping fresh hot loaves straight to the battlefield. This meant no hangry soldiers whining about stale rations, just focused warriors ready to conquer. The Ottomans weren't just throwing supplies at a wall and hoping some stuck. They meticulously calculated distances, terrain, and troop movements to ensure everything arrived precisely when and where it was needed. No wasted journeys, no lost shipments, just smooth, efficient delivery like your Amazon Prime package arriving on time, maybe even faster. The Kapı Kulu wasn't just about basic necessities. They understood that a happy soldier is a fighting soldier. So along with the standard fare, they'd sometimes surprise the troops with treats like fresh fruit, honey, and even coffee. Imagine the caffeine boost before a battle. And speaking of surprises, they also had dedicated supply lines for critical war materials like gunpowder and cannonballs, ensuring the Ottomans always had the firepower advantage. The Ottomans weren't afraid to get creative. They built floating warehouses on boats, utilized rivers and canals for transport, and even employed camels as mobile granaries, their humps overflowing with food. No terrain or obstacle was too challenging for the Kapı Kulu. Strategy number 3. Warfare mastery. Remember the Trojan horse, a crafty trick that brought down a mighty city. Well, the Ottomans took warfare to a whole new level, like a Trojan horse on steroids, packing on so much ingenuity and brute force that they could crack open the toughest nutshells. They had engineers specially for warfare. Need to scale a wall? No problem. They'd whip up a mega tower that made castles look like playhouses. Think scaffolding meets battering ram, with enough wood and muscle to make even the bravest defender tremble. And oh, those cannons. These weren't your grandpa's pea shooters. These were fire-breathing beasts that could blast through stone walls like a hot knife through butter. You wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that, trust me. But it wasn't just about brute force. The Ottomans were masters of the mind game. Imagine you're defending your city, walls manned, weapons prepped, feeling confident. Then boom! From over the wall comes a shower of arrows, not from bows, but from these crazy contraptions that fire a dozen arrows at once. And then the ground starts shaking as they roll up a giant metal hedgehog filled with explosives and spikes, ready to blow your gate sky high. Talk about psychological warfare. Warfare was almost like a chess match for the Ottomans. They'd study their enemies, figure out their weak points, and then unleash their arsenal of tricks and tools. Tunnels under walls? Check. Mines to blow them up? Double check. Fake surrenders to lure defenders out? And remember, these weren't just one-offs. The Ottomans perfected their game over centuries, conquering cities from Constantinople to Belgrade, each victory adding another layer to their badass reputation. Strategy number 4. Crescent power. Forget boring lines of soldiers. The Ottoman army was a kaleidoscope of deadly formations, each one a tactical dance designed to confuse and crush their opponents. And the most iconic of them all, the crescent. Imagine a curved blade slicing through the enemy ranks. That's the crescent formation. At its heart, the soldiers, those elite infantry we mentioned before, stood shoulder to shoulder, forming the blade's sharp edge. They were the hammer, raining down musket fire and close-quarter combat. Flanking them on the horns of the crescent were the soldiers, the heavy cavalry. These were the thunder, charging in with thunderous hooves and sabers flashing, enveloping the enemy in a deadly trap. But the crescent wasn't just about brute force. It was a masterclass in flexibility. The soldiers could shift and adapt, stretching or contracting the blade depending on the terrain or enemy tactics. The soldiers, with their lightning speed, could detach and flank, leaving the enemy reeling in their wake. It was like a living, breathing organism, constantly adjusting to the rhythm of the battlefield. And then there was the psychological warfare. Imagine facing an army shaped like a crescent moon, its horns reaching out to engulf you. It was a terrifying sight, a physical manifestation of Ottoman power that could break even the bravest hearts. The Ottomans knew this, and they used it to their advantage, adding an extra layer of intimidation to their already formidable tactics. The crescent formation wasn't just a cool trick, it was a battle-tested winner. It helped the Ottomans conquer vast swaths of land, from the Balkans to the Arabian Peninsula. It proved its worth against mighty empires and cunning warlords. It was a testament to the Ottoman genius, their ability to blend tradition and innovation into a weapon of unmatched power. Strategy number 5. More than just muscle. The Ottomans weren't just a bunch of brawlers with sharp swords. They were masters of the mental game too, using psychological warfare to soften their enemies before delivering the knockout punch. Imagine you're defending a city and suddenly a tower rises above the walls, stacked high with human heads. Yeah, the Ottomans weren't shy about playing the shock factor. By displaying the heads of captured enemies, they sent a chilling message: surrender or join the pile. Talk about effective advertising. The Ottomans understood the power of intimidation and used these colossal structures to break the enemy's spirit before even launching a full attack. But it wasn't just about scare tactics. The Ottomans were masters of misinformation and manipulation. They might spread rumors of reinforcements on the way, causing panic and confusion in enemy ranks. Or they'd stage fake retreats, luring unsuspecting soldiers into ambushes. It was like a high-stakes chess game, played with lives instead of pawns. They even controlled the narrative after the battle. They'd write epic ballads and poems, glorifying their victories and demonizing their enemies. These stories spread like wildfire, boosting morale within the empire and striking fear into the hearts of potential foes. It was a masterclass in building an image of invincibility.